People are being evacuated from the rebel-held enclave of Eastern Ghouta. That evacuation is part of a deal between local rebels and the Syrian regime, in which 29 of those in most need of treatment will be taken to Damascus. In exchange, the rebels will free captive regime soldiers. The UN says 500 patients in critical condition are in need of further treatment, including some 130 children. Well, Bilal El-Shami joins me now. He's a research and policy coordinator at Rethink Rebuild Society, which helps Syrian refugees in Britain. Good to have you with us, Bilal. So what do you make of this evacuation plan? They've already started. Critically ill patients being flown out of Eastern Ghouta by the Red Cross and the Red Crescent.
But listen, I mean, any improvement in the lives of human beings right now living in these conditions is good. But at the same time, there are a few points that we need to stress here. The first point is, while we're only talking about 29 cases, there are more than 500, some people even saying 600 cases of urgent medical evacuations. 29 is only but a small fraction of that total number. Also, at the same time, let's also keep under consideration that this is not a humanitarian evacuation per se. This is a prisoner swap or a people swap. You have, in return for these 29 people being evacuated, you have 29 prisoners. So this also shows this shameful regime kind of gaining of humanitarian suffering just for more political gains.
Yeah, and in fact, 500,000 people have been under siege since 2013. So just how critical is the situation in Eastern Ghouta, given that there's been very little access for aid convoys and medical supplies?
Well, the situation is very, very critical. I mean, aside from those that need urgent medical evacuation, you have people suffering from malnutrition. People are drinking water just to suppress their hunger. They're keeping their meals to only one meal a day. You have babies, infants dying because of malnutrition. You also, aside from the news that we hear every day about their material siege conditions, what about the mental situation of those people inside? You have depression rates on the rise. You have 12-year-olds attempting suicide. You also have elderly mothers hallucinating. The situation is very, very critical, and unless an urgent change in situation happens, the situation will prolong and even be worse.
And yet this is an area which has been designated as a de-escalation zone by Russia, Iran and Turkey. The fighting clearly hasn't stopped. Why has it been so difficult to improve the situation for civilians there?
I mean, this deal is supposed, or this de-escalation zone has been going on for months. One of the major crucial terms of that deal was to have an open humanitarian access into that area. We've been hearing reports of probable Russian and Turkish cooperation on trying to get 500 people outside Eastern Ghouta. But at the same time, this is a very critical term of that deal, is to have open humanitarian access. Why are we lowering the bar of our demand? Why the siege continues, or why the situation hasn't improved? Probably because there hasn't been enough pressure on the regime or on its backers to actually change that situation. And unless pressure is actually applied, then I can see no change in that circumstances to the positive.
Yeah, it is an appalling situation. Bilal, thank you very much indeed for speaking with us about that. Bilal El-Shami there from Rethink Rebuild Society.